join the United Nations as Jaywick speaks publicly about what is their concerns, and we can meet him privately afterwards and fly on the wall.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure that all you good people are as appalled as I am at the testaments that have just been given by the previous speakers, all in the name of austerity. Austerity has been a term familiar for several decades. But as most of us, we are aware that austerity is a political choice, not an economic necessity. And furthermore, austerity is a medicine which enriches those who dispense it. Hence the reason why we welcome Philip Alston's visit to inquire into the consequences of the current government's austerity policy. On Remembrance Sunday, as we remember those who gave their lives for our freedom, we should also remember all those that fought for us, many of whom are now being penalized by austerity, as has been described. Before World War II, the British people had experienced abject poverty, wholesale unemployment, lack of health services in the 30s, and shocking housing conditions. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that the country should vow that never again would such circumstances be tolerated. And as soon as hostilities ended, the electorate made the fundamental choice and replaced the existing government by electing a Labour government. We remember only too well that during the post-war era, full employment was the norm. Living standards rose to an unprecedented rate. The welfare state and the NHS were firmly established, and there was growing equality. And in spite of Britain having a worse financial problem than today, a bright and positive future beckoned. Sadly, these progressive advances have been systematically eroded by successive governments over the past decades, and many of the elderly population in this country find themselves with no support, very limited care, and a meagre financial means. Britain's pensioners are the poorest in Europe and are sick of the government's parroting that they have never had it so good. Pensions are not a benefit. Pensions are deferred wages. Recent surveys have revealed that more than 1/3 of people aged over 65 believe Britain has become a worse place to live. That there are over 1.5 million older people still living in poverty. Over 1 million haven't spoken to anyone for over a month, resulting in isolation and loneliness, which is one of the greatest causes of illness amongst the elderly. Over 870,000 do not receive the care and support they so badly need. Over 25,000 die unnecessarily each winter because of the cold. And almost 50% miss out on the benefits of being online, often paying more for goods and services because they have no access to online discounts. According to the Salvation Army figures in Clacton, elderly people are reluctant to use food banks and we are now seeing admissions to hospital through malnutrition. We should not need food banks to feed our elderly, or indeed any of our population. It is scandalous and unacceptable in this day and age, in a supposedly civilized society, and furthermore, the 6th richest country in the world. Time is long overdue to call a halt to this downward spiral and to introduce measures to provide the elderly, who have been called the greatest generation, the dignity, respect and care they deserve for a comfortable retirement, free from financial anxiety and worry, rather than the view of what can be afforded. Surely, if Britain's resources could be mobilised to meet its needs during World War II, it is not beyond the competence of today's 21st century administration with huge advances in science and technology to do likewise. How well we look after our retired folk is a measure of how civilized we are as a society. At the moment, we are failing to do so, and we hope that you, Philip, will be successful in convincing this government that it's high time to make a change and to get Britain a great place to grow old.
Man said it as it is.
That was a speech.
That was, I am gobsmacked. He said it is what we feel. Shine on to that guy. Well said. Get down here, show us. What a man. What a man.
That was powerful.